EPA is now requiring Norfolk Southern to test for dangerous pollutants known as dioxins in the aftermath of the Ohio derailment. It's believed they could have formed after vinyl chloride was burned off after the derailment. And experts tell KDKA it's possible that there are chemicals that are not being tested for that are contributing to health issues. With the news today about the dioxins testing, the EPA held a town hall meeting for people to ask questions and get answers. Some pressed the EPA and Norfolk Southern on why testing for dioxins hadn't begun earlier. Many also brought up their own health concerns.
This has touched me on every level. This has touched my family. This has touched my friends. This has touched my farm. This has touched my animals. This has touched my finances. This has touched my home. And it will touch me to the cellular level when I get diagnosed with cancer, ALS, or whatever is going to come down the road if I stay in this contaminated, toxic town, and you all know it.
I want out, and the bank will not lend me money. The insurance companies, they said they're going to put a moratorium on insurance in these policies and Natalie. And listen to me, please. My grandchildren, my children want out.
The EPA says it'll order an immediate cleanup of the area if dioxins that pose unacceptable risks to human health and the environment are found. Also tonight, we're learning more about plans for improving railroad safety. KDKA's Lauren Linder spoke exclusively with Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg today. She joins us live with what he's calling for now. Lauren.
Ken, nearly 1 month after the Norfolk Southern derailment in East Palestine, Ohio, it's hard to not hear a mention of Secretary Pete Buttigieg. But that wasn't the case at the start. It took him 10 days to address the toxic crash publicly and nearly 3 weeks to see the wreckage and meet with community members in person, creating some lack of trust. Now he's on a track to make change in one of the most powerful industries in the country.
They just want good facts, good information, and they want to make sure that there will be accountability and that they will be safe.
Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg reflects on his visit to East Palestine. Just 1 week ago, he traveled to the site of the toxic train derailment near the Ohio-Pennsylvania border and left with a few takeaways. The
experience of walking among these twisted, burned tank cars and the importance of rail safety regulation.
The latter is what he's focused on.
We're making sure we're doing everything with the tools we have, but also calling on the railroads to do better and calling on Congress to do more.
These 3 parts make up his rail safety plan announced early last week. One aspect called on railroad companies to join a confidential close call reporting system that encourages workers to report safety hazards by protecting them from retaliation when they come forward. When the secretary didn't hear back, he followed up with this letter on Monday, giving the companies an end-of-week deadline. In the final hours Thursday afternoon, he learned all 7 major freight railroads, including Norfolk Southern, agreed to participate.
I'm waiting to hear from them individually, and we got to do the paperwork to get them signed up.
It comes on the heels of 2 other updates. The Federal Railroad Administration shared plans to prioritize inspections of routes where hazardous materials are carried. And Pennsylvania and Ohio senators just proposed new legislation to enhance safety protocols.
I also think this is a moment when we can get more done than would have been thought possible before in terms of having the highest standards of accountability and safety for the sake of communities and, of course, for workers whose lives depend on the safety of our railroad systems.
Among the improvements, railroad companies would be required to notify states ahead of time if cars are transporting hazardous materials, and to have at least 2-person crews on every train. It also would establish standards for hotbox detectors, which currently aren't regulated by the Federal Railroad Administration.
We're working to make sure that everyone understands the urgency of getting this done and moving quickly.
His response to the February 3rd crash hasn't come without controversy.
I think it's probably safe to say this is the most cabinet level presence there's ever been on a modern derailment site. And I think that reflects how seriously this administration takes this situation.
Now he hopes to move forward, make it right for those impacted by the derailment, and do what he can to prevent it from happening in the future.
Now's an opportunity to support real change, and we're going to keep driving it with every tool that we have here at the department.
Now, railroad workers tell me they also would like to see the government stop share buyback programs and make sure the rail system puts more emphasis on returning capital back to the infrastructure. The secretary tells me he agrees about the strength of the industry, but didn't say whether he would restrict these programs. Live in the studio, Lauren Linder, back to you.
Okay, Lauren.